Hello, this is Carrie with another rendition of Gardenside Chat. Thanks for joining us today. Today we are back at the Veterans Urban Farm in our little passive solar greenhouse, which is, on a side note, one of the best little buildings we've ever built. That's for a different day to talk about. But the reason why we're in our greenhouse is because we're going to talk about storing garlic. So as you kind of see behind me, we have lots and lots and lots of garlic hanging from the rafters of the greenhouse. And we have a tarp over the southern window of the greenhouse, so it's not very sunny in here. It's actually really comfortable in here. It's much cooler than it is out in here than it is outside, so it feels very nice in here compared to the outdoors. So So today we want to talk about harvesting, if you haven't already, your garlic, how to cure it, and then how to store it for the short and long term. So we already harvested our garlic, so unfortunately I cannot give you a hands-on demonstration of how to harvest it, but I can kind of talk you through it if you haven't done it yet. So there's a few gardening planting dates that line up really well on the calendar, and garlic is one of those planting dates. We always plant garlic in Missouri around Halloween, and I always think of it like vampires and stuff, and Halloween and garlic, So you plant it around Halloween. It lives all winter, kind of dormant, I guess, and then it starts popping out of the ground in early spring, and then it lives until around early July. So I know around here people have been harvesting garlic for the last couple weeks. So anytime in between late June and early July is a good time to harvest. How can you tell when you should be harvesting your garlic? Well, it might be hard to tell here because they've all started to dry, but in the ground you want to wait till about 40% of the leaves turn yellow. Right now, since we've been drying them for the last couple days, they kind of turn more and more yellow. But you want roughly 60% of the above ground part of the plant should be green still, but 40%, like the outer leaves and stuff, should be turning yellow and getting kind of crispy. So that signals you that the garlic is in a good spot to be harvested. The outer leaves that turn brown, those are the leaves. They go all the way down to the bulb and are those that kind of papery skin around the bulb. So you can see these leaves, the leaves kind of broken off, but you can see it goes all the way down and is actually the very first skin that has been kind of rubbed off, and it picks back up right here. So the leaves travel all the way down to the bulb and become the papery protective layer around the bulbs of garlic. So you want those outer leaves to be yellow because that means they've dried and they're going to start storing moisture in the bulb of garlic. So once you have once your plants are in the right place, we use a lot of potato forks here, so you get your potato fork out, kind of spear it about 4 inches away from your bulbs, loosen up the soil a little bit, and then you can pull them out. So as you can see, the garlic's still pretty dirty, so you don't hose it off, you don't dunk it in a bucket of water. You just pull it out of the ground, cut the roots off like you see we've done, and then with your hand kind of gently brush the dirt off. When you pull the garlic out of the ground, it's really tender, so it can bruise really easily, which can affect storage, long-term storage. So you do want to be pretty delicate with them, so just brush the dirt off with your hands. The reason why we cut the roots off, we talked about this when we talked about onions earlier this week, the roots can kind of take up moisture in the air, like humidity. So the purpose of curing is to kind of stop the plant taking up water and kind of get it to dry out to an ideal amount of moisture inside. So you want to cut off the roots to keep it from sucking up humidity in the air. Okay. So once you're to that stage, you dug them out, you cut off the little roots, you've brushed off the dirt. What you do is you want to find a shady spot that has high humidity and that has good air circulation, which brings us back to our passive solar greenhouse. So This is an enclosed structure, so we're not going to get rained on in here. We put a tarp over it so it blocks the sun. You don't want them to cure in the sun because the sun can like burn them, like give them a sunburn, which just like bruising will adversely affect how long you can store the garlic. And the thing with garlic is you really want to store it a long time, because unlike lettuce or kale or these succession crops, all the garlic comes all at once, and then you have to eat that garlic over the course of months or weeks, but you want it to stay good that entire time. So we hang it up here. If you have a shed in your garden, that would work. Put a fan on it, open the door so that you still have air circulation, but you just want it to be warm, dry, with good air circulation in the shade. So if you watched my video on Monday about onions, I put it under the shade of a tree. That would work if it wasn't going to rain. So you could do that as well. You don't have to have a nice greenhouse to do this. You want to cure them in a place that's shady, around 80 degrees with pretty high humidity, for 2 weeks, 10 days to 14 days. And then that is the curing process. I'll repeat that because that's an important thing. About 80 degrees, in the shade, relatively high humidity with good air circulation for 10 to 14 days. Garage, shed, as long as you put a fan on it so that the air is circulating around. And that they're not like just in a bucket or in a basket. You want them kind of spread out so that the air can circulate around. After that curing time, you can cut off the bulb from the stem if you like. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But you'd cut it right about here. And then you can store it at room temperature, kind of, normal house elements, 68 to 80 degrees, low relative humidity. And then they'll store like that for several weeks. So once you're done with the curing, you can cut the stem off, put it in your house. It'll store for a good long while in there. I have had pretty good success storing it actually for like months that way. However, extension agents say that's not the best long-term storage environment for them. They say if you want to store garlic for much longer, like several months, like 6 to 7 months we're talking about, to put it in a cool, like, mid 30 degree, low relative humidity, good air circulation environment, which does not exist in my house. So I've never done that because I don't have it's not nowhere is that cold in my house. So I've just kept it at the room temperature, low relative humidity, good air circulation, with pretty good success. Garlic is not keeping by a couple telltale signs. One, the clove itself gets kind of soft and squishy, and the paper is like kind of loose inside the paper. That means it's starting to lose its moisture in the bulb, and you probably should eat it